Good afternoon, Stone Seekers. We are back for another Wonders of the First Across the Realm. It is Loko right here, and there is Bear, and I recognize that. You're still in Mexico.
Yes, that
Okay.
is correct. What gave it away, do you think?
It's the shelving system.
Yeah,
I
gotta be
recognize
it.
the shelving
How
system,
you
yeah.
doing today, Loco?
Doing all right. Busy as ever. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing great, thank you. Spent some time in the sun, as I should.
Very good. Yeah, we're hitting autumn here where I'm at. So we put up all our Halloween stuff today, and I think we're just getting the last nice weather. So I better get out in the sun while I can after this, I think.
Indeed, absolutely.
Well, we got a fast and furious episode today. We're going to try and keep this
Yes.
around 30 minutes. We got a new Stone Seeker spotlight. We'll get to that in a moment. We have a finals in our bracket, correct? A winner.
That's right. We do finally have a winner. Yes.
We'll talk about that and cross it over. I got something in the mail, so we're going to cross it over a little bit there too. Cards of the week, we'll see what we can do. We've had 3 revealed in that Pokemon style. Who's that wonder? And we'll take a look maybe at some of those and what they are. And of course, Bear with his strategy, and then we'll answer some questions as we go along. So shall we get to know our Stone Seeker?
Absolutely. I think we should bring him on. Loco, would you give an introduction?
I will. So, our Stone Seeker Spotlight, you may recognize him. He is currently an orange name with the lovely alchemist icon there, but
Oh
he
yes.
did start as a community member. It is Joe Doug, and we'd like to ask him some questions, get to know him a little better, and maybe find out about his path here with Wonders. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Well, great as always. So, first question, Joe, is what brought let's just say it. What brought you to Wonders? Let's talk there and then we'll talk a little about your background. So what brought you to Wonders?
Yeah, so if you guys look in the archives back in around April, there was some targeted ads, and the first one I saw was Frenchie, and I watched the ad, and I had actually already seen some of the ads for just the artwork for Wonders of the First, and I was really right at the bat. I was like, hey, this art looks really cool. Kind of reminds me. I didn't think this at the time, but it reminded me of something. I didn't know what it was, but now after telling some of my friends about the game, they're like, "Oh, that sounds like Spelljammer," and I'm like, "Oh, definitely. That's what it was I liked about it." Because, for those of you who don't know Spelljammer, it's a really old, famous D&D module that has to do with like a cross between like science fiction and fantasy. So that was really what spoke to me, was like this science fiction fantasy art. I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." So I had seen the art, but I hadn't really clicked on anything. Then I saw this video from Frenchie, and when I watched the video, I was like, "Who's this guy?" And then it was like a different type of, any of you guys are watching this, maybe you've seen it before too, or go back and watch it. But it just hit me different. And then like what really blew my mind was the very end of it. It was like, oh, he's the owner. He's not even the designer of the game, or he's the owner of the company who's supporting the game. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, this is somebody who's just a fan of TCGs, a fan of collecting, who said, you know what? I've always wanted to have my own card game. I'm going to pay some people to know what they're doing to make it. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. This is kind of more of like a fan making a game versus like a corporation. So I was like, that's pretty cool. And then a couple weeks later, I saw that they were going to have this big video with Brian Tinsman, and he's coming from Magic the Gathering. And I was like, no way. I had no idea. Like, well, the guy they had designing is from Magic. So I tuned in and watched that, and then I was like, oh man, like these people are really down to earth. These seem like the kind of people I have a beer with at the bar and just like talk about collecting and games. And so that really got me in. And then I joined the Discord. I was like, well, you know what? Let's see how the game actually plays.
Hmm.
So I saw the print and plays, and it actually costs more money and time to make those than I thought. The good thing about that is the first couple times I played the game, I wasn't sure if I liked it or not, but because I had spent a bunch of money and time like printing and playing those out, I played solitaire because I was playing with my son, and he was kind of like not really liking it at first. And then I started playing solitaire, and he came out and saw me playing solitaire. And then I just fell in love with the game because like at first it was just like there's there's certain things about card games where you just have anomalies. And the first couple of games we had, like things just weren't. The game was kind of snowballing, and so I put my feedback in on the Discord channel, and Ramel saw the feedback, and I know at the time, I think a lot of the feedback that I had seen on Discord was either people who were super positive about the game but hadn't played it. They just liked it, but you could tell they hadn't played it. Or there was feedback from people who were super hateful and negative about the game, but also you could tell I hadn't played it. So I think that I was lucky enough to be one of the first people to give what I would call constructive criticism. So I gave a bunch of feedback and things like, hey, like, it'd be cool to do this, this is kind of happening, blah, blah, blah. And then I already made this a long story, but basically, because I was given, good constructive feedback, I got a chance to join the test team. And then I just kept on doing more and more and more. I got invited to come to one of the sprints, and I got invited to come to one of the conventions, and then I got invited to be part of the design team. So like a part-time thing. So like I'm not a full-time designer. I still unfortunately have to do my day job. But
yes,
cool.
I have to say what an honor it was to sort of to see that whole journey, Joe. To see you start off as someone who had such a clear critique of the game, and I think something like that is very important for something that's in development, right? As it starts, I don't think much can really come of like people who just love something vehemently and support it to the hill, and also the people who just talk smack for the sake of talking smack. Like the fact that you had so much construction in your critiques. And a faith, like a belief in the game. That's been it's been amazing to have you on the team, man. And meeting you for the first time in Texas too. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was crazy. My friends and family thought I was nuts. They're like, go to Texas, like out of like, there's more to the story, but I basically went to Texas on like 2 days notice. So
Yeah.
it was pretty crazy.
No, that's a cool story, and that's exciting to hear there, Joe. So I guess you talked about playing some games with your son early on. Now you've seen lots of stuff. So which orbital are you, Joe? If we were to say,
I would say, I don't want to like say the cliche like I like all the orbitals, but the truth is I love all the orbitals. I have tested and played every single orbital lots of times, but because I have to pick a favorite, I will pick two because I like to play two orbitals, and it's kind of similar to my Magic the Gathering days. I would like Dimir and Magic, but I like playing Thalwyn and Number Theme. So like my favorite decks to make are Thalwyn, Number Theme, but I really, really enjoy playing Sulfera and Patria also. And I think Helios and Ballast are fun as well. But like that's definitely I would say like if I had to only pick one, I'd pick Thalwyn. I mean, but
yeah, it's fun. It's like
maybe pick one, but you don't have to pick just one, right?
No,
right.
No, you don't. You can always play the first or Phoenix Quill or something. So you don't always have to pick one. No. What do you say your play style is? And you said you like to play Thalmor Nuberthane. You have some Magic the Gathering.
I am more of a combo player, but I kind of go back and forth between control and combo. But I back in the day I was a hardcore control player, but like now I'm more combo, just because I feel like if you play control and you're good at it, it means the other person had a horrible experience.
Yeah, that's horrible, right? Anytime I saw blue
combo, because then usually both people have fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Yeah,
for sure.
Do you have any questions for him, Barry? You have another question for Joe?
Yeah, I mean, given that you were a Magic player prior to Wonders, and probably are right. Like, have you played much since starting playing?
Yeah, all my friends think I've given up on it because ever, but I still play, of course. Yeah.
Awesome.
Just like I've been so busy, I don't get invited that often. But
totally.
I still like Magic though. Yeah, Magic's great. Magic's great. That's one thing. That's nice about Wonders. Like if you play Wonders, it's not like obviously you probably still like Magic, but
yeah. And then perhaps another question on the strategy side is like so you spoke about your interest in playing Control. What would you say are your top Control cards that you see And let's maybe even say, here on Across the Realm, we're kind of
Mm-hmm.
a little cheeky about the way that we're sharing some of these this early alpha, right?
Mhm.
So, publicized or not publicized,
Okay.
what are
Top
your
control
three favorite
cards.
control cards?
Top control cards. Well, the probably number one control card from a Thalwyn standpoint is um, the Ward of Serendipity.
Sure.
Like
Oh,
that's if you know your opponent's playing spells, which a lot of times they are. Um, I think your top control card in balance has got to be the Throne. That's been talked about so much, but we didn't talk about that. That
yeah.
one's kind of self-explanatory. But there's one card in Thalwyn that I don't think is unspoiled yet, so I'll give that one. It's called it's something about the void. It lets you preemptively. What's that card? You know what card I'm talking about, Bear?
Yeah, let me just have a look. Let's see.
It's something about the void. So I don't have the card names memorized.
Yeah, sure. Is it Hush of the Void?
Yeah, Hush of the Void.
That's
Yeah.
it.
So
Nice.
Hush,
Yeah, perhaps
hush about Hush of the Void. Yeah, not too much.
yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna pull that. Are we gonna share it on screen or?
No,
Mhm.
you're good. No,
Pretty
what I
good.
love is that two of those cards we've seen iterations of, right? And so that's fun to know that people who maybe like that play style have already got to practice a little bit with what they can see from Wonders. So,
Yeah.
well, Joe, we want to keep you on the stage to go through the show
Mm.
with us. If
Okay.
you want, we'd like to get your input. And so we're gonna first have some fun and just flaunt this a little bit where we finally have a winner of our bracket. Congratulations to Emma Fixum Shockbite.
Oh
Much
yeah.
to some people's chagrin. Bear, what do you think? Yes, or no?
Oh,
Where are you at on this
oh
one?
my goodness. It was a very contentious challenge. I think there are a number of people at the office who frankly could have put money on Emma winning this. This is of course because of our collaboration with Shockham Comics. There's just been such an interest on Emma being this, central protagonist. It's good to see her win. But at the same time, it's also good to see her win by such a small margin. There was a real competition with Drogothar, and I think we had a lot of big dragon fans. So it was good to see people getting in there and voting. Yeah, we had a pretty large number of votes at the end. I think it was something like may have been around 60 or 70 votes
nice.
in the end. Yeah.
Joe, what about you? Yes or no?
Emma's
this ended
awesome.
up.
Emma's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. Everybody loves dragons. I think what hurt the dragons is there's a bunch of dragons, right?
Mm.
So like maybe some people were like, oh well, if it was Cinderma, I would have voted for. I mean, like there's probably enough cool dragons that maybe everybody's got their own favorite dragon, but there's only one Emma. And
Yeah,
Emma
sure.
Yeah,
is
the
freaking
uniqueness
cool.
there, yeah.
I mean, very cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And that it was funny in chat. Someone was like, "Wait a minute, what wasn't that the comic?" And yeah, whoever that was, you are
Yeah.
correct. It was the comic, and I got one delivered to me
Mm.
right here. I haven't flipped my camera.
Ooh.
So is this backwards to you guys? I think it is. Usually I flip my camera, but it's backwards.
That's
So
cool.
it does say Emma when we read left to right. And what I have
Mhm.
not, believe it or not, I've not read it yet. I just opened this today. But
Well,
I'm excited for all the Easter eggs. So here's a back, and this is kind of like if you know, you know, right?
oh
So
yeah.
if you know Wonders, you know. And so there it is. I got one boarded up. I did two, Bear, not three from your advice. I'd already ordered two, but we'll see. I would like to talk a little bit about something else that I thought was a little crazy. So they sent like some little swag. So I got some tattoos. I can tap myself up. Look, that one's gonna be right side because it's reverse. Put it on my forearm. Maybe the kids at school will be like, "Dang,
sweet.
Mr. Anderson, look at that ink," But they sent a letter, and so I'm gonna share just one little tidbit that I was unaware of. And this is what it is. We have two other series that are also in production. Both series based on the wonders of the first ecosystem. One's based on the orbital Patria, and the other takes place on Sulfera. And so that just kind of blew my mind to be like, holy mackerel. They talk about how they want to pace all these out and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's more than just Emma. I mean, we're talking like three, basically in their last video, they talked about being a multiverse. And so we're going to have these three parallel stories or journeys, I guess, going on, which is kind of crazy. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they've been putting in a ton of work, and for the most part as well, we're really letting them do what they want creatively, and I think that's key to them creating these really innovative and exciting new stories that we don't create, and so with that being said, I'm excited to see what they bring, and also how the narrative that Wonders pushes out interplays with the content that they're making too.
One thing that I thought was cool is like the fact that each comic book is serial numbered. I hope they do that for every episode. I assume they would. I don't like that the one I got mine too. I don't like that my serial number is so high, but it's okay.
Yeah, they reserved, I think 3,000 of them weren't even put out. So if you read this letter, they talk about how they kept 3,000 back, and then they do talk about how you could basically subscribe, and if you subscribe, you'll always get that serial number. So if you just say like, I want to subscribe, I'm number like 3999, you will always have 3999.
Oh, that's
so
pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that's in that
cool.
letter too. There's a lot here. It's 4 pages front and
Holy
back,
crap.
and so
Wow.
the thing that stood out to me is I was unaware that they were going to do Petraea and Sulfur as well. But Joe, I agree. The serialization of it is pretty awesome.
It's super cool.
And,
also, like once you open it and I opened up mine and read it already. Like now it's been a long time. Long time. But like the quality of the pages, I thought felt like really good. It felt like I could read it and it's not even going to damage it, which I'm sure
it's solid. It has the nice smell. When I opened it, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like that new card smell or new comic smell. But no, it's
pretty good too.
It's good. No, it's good. And then Bear's advice on the comics, he said to buy 3, and this came from Kish. He said, I forget the exact words, but basically you get one to read, you get one to collect, and then you get one to flip. That's what Bear told us last week. Did I cover that, Bear? Is that about right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So shall we move into some cards before we talk a little bit of strategy? Is that okay?
Indeed, absolutely.
Let's since Joe talked about Umbrathane, let's go there first, because I'm not quite sold on this card, and I want to get your guys'
It's a that one card, but
oh, that's right, you said that one. Well, Umbrathane's your second, right? Umbrathane your second. So here it is. Shadowcast Mace.
Oh boy, my goodness.
Yeah, and this was guessed. I think Patches guessed it in.
Yeah, Patches has been really solid on the guesses.
Yeah, I think my drawing helped him.
For sure.
So I guess my thing is, I don't see a lot of equipment for Umbrathane, and when I look at this, it's core, costs 4 for +3, but it does have Death Strike. So I'd like to get your guys' input on how you feel about Shadowcast Mace.
For sure. This is one of those tools, to me at least, where I wouldn't say that a tool like this is, and I'd say this with pure intention here. To me, it's like a very heavy, blunt object. It does exactly what it's meant to do, which is that it gives you more power and gives you Death Strike. In terms of the applications available with a tool like this, for the most part, it's very clear what you're going to do with it. So it's hard to hide it in tempo or hide it in combo, for example. But it may be the exact card that you need if you need more, basically stopping power with and removal too. I think it's an incredibly valuable item, and I'm a huge fan of this one.
What I like about it is it's a really good balance card. So, Death Strike's one of the most powerful keywords in the game. And then so it gives a power buff and also gives that chance to remove. But it costs 4 energy.
Yeah.
And the key thing is its core. So like the fact that it's core and 4 energy, it's one of those cards where it's like it's difficult to combo, like Bear was talking about, because you kind of want to put it on like a flyer to get the most value out of it. Otherwise, you're only going to kill something like one realm. Well, there's not a lot of things that fly in Umbrathane. So the best way to combo it is to use another orbital that has flyers. Insane on, Knievel.
Sure.
But also good on a dragon or anything like that one that flies. But because it's core, you have to be dedicated to Umbrathane too, which doesn't have flyers. So it's not it's what I call it. It's like an awesome card because it's balanced. It's got limits.
Yes,
You can't just play it in every deck. You have to have a dedication to Umberthine if you're going to play it. So I love this card.
Yeah, that's what I like too, is just the balance of it. So you see it at first. I tend to drift my eyes to the ability, and I was like, oh, this is pretty solid. Then I go to the energy cost. I was like, eh. Then I saw core. I was like, okay, this is a pretty balanced card. So I like that. Speaking of a card that I find maybe slightly unbalanced that I would have loved to put in a draft deck I just did is this Rockskin Shredder.
Oh
So
my!
Rockskin Shredder was also revealed, and this just seems bonkers to me.
It is.
For what it potentially could become. And so I'll let you guys go first again. Tell me thoughts on Rockskin Shredder, this Sulfura spiny beast.
Joe, do you want to lead here?
Well, I would say that I think we're going to see this card a lot and in a lot of decks.
Yeah.
And thank goodness for DBS. I would not expect this card to be a cheap card on DBS. So, spoiler alert, cards like this are probably not going to be cheap to put in your deck. This is a very good card.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it has such a unique ability, and especially when you get round to those like those boundless decks. I feel like boundless Sulfura didn't make a ton of sense to me until Rockskin Shredder as a secondary wonder was available, and now boundless Sulfura, I can see that happening. Because if you're able to get that early game aggro with a Sulfura, because that's of course the pitfall for boundless, is that typically it's not that strong early, and then you can get that boundless ascend late game. Effectively, you have, if you get it right, a foolproof deck, and I think we're gonna start to see Sulfura boundless because of Rockskin Shredder.
Yeah, this card just seems insane to me because it's whenever anyone harvests a land, so myself or my opponent, getting counters on him. I mean, so throughout the game, I mean, I think of those lands like when you play the third Sulfura, whatever, untap lands. So it's like you already harvest, you get to harvest again. Or if everyone waits till that last turn, which sometimes you see in games, it's like this guy, you talk about boundless, he has like an ascend on its own too, just from harvesting. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I agree. I think you'll see a lot of play on that.
We do have one text too. The flavor text, just like I love a lot of the flavor text on these.
Yeah, so cool, and also just such a cool looking dude. I mean, look at this guy.
He is. His flavor text is hard spiny exterior, hard spiny interior. Very good. Let's wrap it up with one last one. And this we've seen a few times. I think BGMC even has a movie poster of this in his house. Rage of the Ancients. So its core, it is Patria, 10 cost. Legendary. The last two we saw were secondary. You can have 3 of them. This is legendary. Mythic as well. Name a class. Double the power of wonders you control that class this round. Gain 2 free attacks.
Right.
I mean, class would be anything listed here in a wonder, correct?
Yes.
So, dragons, monster, angels, right? All that could happen. All right, thoughts on this one?
Well, I guess the question to ask here is which class would you name?
I'm toying around with a little monster deck. There seems to be lots of monsters that are across all orbitals, and they just tend to be strong. I mean, there's some that are just vanilla. And so obviously there's weakness, right? If I play on like an all monster deck, there's cards that can just wipe like all of one class. I imagine dragons would be a popular one as well, but I think monsters would be a lot of fun.
Definitely. I mean, especially as you get to those big wonders. Like you look at things like Abyssal Sand Leviathan from Talwind, or do you know what? I was going to say Gura Beast, but it's literally in the name. That's a beast. Deep Black Goop, for example, from Umberthine. Tons of monsters that are really big and oppressive, or either have no abilities but are really big, or are just have these unique and strange abilities. So definitely, monster is super viable.
Yeah. What were you saying, Joe?
I'm going to go on the opposite side. I think when you have the big stuff out there, it's already big enough to win. So this card just win more. So I think this card is going to be awesome on plants and mice. There's
Mice?
some
You say
mouse
mice?
combos. There's some plant combos, but definitely see the plants, especially this thing called Pink Spore Dream Cap. I can
Sure.
definitely see this card working really good with that card.
Yeah.
Rage of the
Is card
Ancients.
public? I don't know. Is Dream Cap public?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah, a
so.
version of it was early on. They were playing it at North Carolina, I believe.
That's
So
what I thought.
early on.
Yeah.
I just we haven't seen like a final iteration since then.
I
So
don't
that
think
was
it's
a month
changed.
ago.
I think it's never. It's one of the few cards that's never changed because it's so perfect from the beginning.
I want to see 100 Dream Caps. I just show me 100.
Yeah. No, Joe, that's a good insight to think, you know, if you're big enough already, why does it matter? You know?
Right.
So
Why not just play another big thing, you know?
Yeah,
so because if you're playing a lot of big stuff, you're probably only if you have small stuff in your deck, you might be able to play this spell and a small thing the same turn.
Yeah.
I will say
exactly.
that from a design perspective, I love cards like this that are super powerful and core and cost a lot. And cost a lot being because I think there should be a risk associated with with buffing, like creating this kind of a game-ending result, right? And that's why, goodness forbid you played Rage of the Ancients for it to be then countered by End the Bloodline, or something of the sort. And so I just love that. I love
unless you play Hush to the Void.
Yeah.
Right. There
Exactly.
are options.
Yes.
Well, thanks for that input. I always like hearing from some of the experts. And speaking of hearing from some experts, Bear, do you have a touch of strategy for us this week?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So a few weeks ago, we did aggro playstyle, and then we went into combo, and then more recently, we went into ramp last week, I believe. And so today, I'm going to be talking briefly, just a bit of high level, about tempo. So tempo is all about controlling the pace of the game. You want to gain incremental advantages each turn and keep pressure on your opponent. Now, it sounds a lot like aggro, right? But it's actually not. It's not about seizing stones early. It's just staying ahead just enough to make your opponent's plays inefficient. So what you're trying to do, I guess, as it pertains to wonders, is it's more about starving your opponent's economies, right? So whether that be the action economy or the energy economy, and then using that as well as good board presence and zoning tools to push your advantage. And by zoning tools, think of it like if you know that your opponent has a certain type of card and you don't want to see it come out, you can use a card as a zoning tool to force them to play that card. Let's say you have removal, you know that your opponent has removal and you have a 4-cost wonder that has a lot of power but doesn't have a big ability, and another wonder that you really want to make sure you keep on the board. You can, for example, use this bigger wonder to draw the opponent's removal. And so that to me is a key concept of tempo. Now, in terms of building a tempo deck, I would choose cards that have immediate impact or ones that are hard to remove. For example, anything with a protector, or maybe not a protector counter, a shield counter, that's really important. So proactive threats and controlling the opponent's options without sacrificing your own momentum. So it does play similar to aggro, but it's a little different because you're using zoning tools. You want to anticipate your opponent and predict opponent reactions. And then finally, for the end game timing, tempo decks don't always have the strongest late game. So you just want to make sure that you've starved your opponent of resources so much through the game that they're not really able to stabilize a strong end game. And so just be aware of the moment where you need to transition from a control type strategy to then ending the game fully. And then I've written up a little final piece, which is this playstyle requires adaptability, foresight, and a continuous pressure without overcommitting. You got to make it a rewarding approach for players who enjoy calculated and strategic control play.
Nice. I think that I was talking to Wicked, I think a while back for the first tournament, and we talked about how that mirror and Umbrathine, right, that you can play out and then your opponent's monster or wonder is destroyed. Like that seems like such a great tempo card as well, just to keep the pace up.
What's your thoughts on excellent tempo card, and also that's great for control too.
What are your thoughts on tempo, Joe?
Yeah, I think tempo is really important in this game. It's one of those things where it doesn't necessarily matter what archetype you're playing. Tempo is going to come into play. So like, it could be the end of the game. I think you have the game wrapped up, but if you don't control the tempo, you can't necessarily hold on for the win in the beginning of the game. If you aren't in sync with the tempo, you might not feel like it, but you're getting out advantaged on drawing cards and like for example, when people are brand new to the game, they're hesitant to draw cards because then they might have to discard, so they're losing.
Right.
Like there's just like something that could have happened that turn that didn't, so like they're losing advantage and efficiencies like turn after turn after turn, and then it all piles up, and just one of those things could cost you the game. So it's I do agree, like tempo is a big part of it. You don't want to like use all, like in Magic, you're used to using all resources every turn. So like you have to like, you can't use none of your resources, save them off at the end either, but you also can't just use them all at once because then like you're gonna. So like I agree, you have to have this tempo of basically balancing your resources, whether it's playing cards or not playing them. So yeah, tempo is a huge part of the game. Really hard
Yeah.
skill to pick up at first, but I think it might be one of the hardest things to learn actually.
Yeah, and then you're also playing within that 7 rounds, right? So like other games, Magic or whatnot, you're just like, I'm going to get you to 0, whatever. When it happens, it happens. Where this is like, you blow all your resources and you're like, well, here comes round 4. You got to live for 3 more to figure out how you're going to win.
Yeah.
So that's a good point there too.
Indeed.
I think it is hard to learn. I mean, I'm still learning as well and what cards work well, but no, I like that insight. That's good. Thanks, Bear, for that. And thanks, Joe, for your insight. Yeah.
And that's a great point, Joe. There is a bit of a culture shock, right? As we move sort of from Magic specifically. Yeah, and I'm interested to see what kind of commentary there is on that as we go forward. As players who've been covering our stuff recently, like Capricorn, for example, speak on that, and just want to hear his insights. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, we're at almost 30 exactly. We're about 32. We covered a lot. We got to know a little bit more about Joe. He is part of our Wonders of the First Team as well. So you'll see him in chat there, orange named and everything. So if you have any questions, I'm sure he can help you there. Bear, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
Everyone, don't forget, get these. It's lots of fun. I've read a few pages. High quality, like Joe said. This came within, I think, 3 or 4 days after I ordered. Tons of fun there. Fun
Very well packaged too. Very professional packaging. Well, and it's shipped right on time, like you said. Like
so it's boarded and bagged, and then it came in a nice envelope there. So yeah, shipping was great. So don't forget that. And then I don't know, Bear, can you tease out anything else about the challenge? I was putting up my decorations today for the holiday, and I was like, is this the holiday he's talking about? My daughter actually wanted to go to Christmas. She was ready for Christmas. Like, maybe that's what Bear's talking about. So can you give us any little tidbit for the next orbital challenge at all?
Okay. Yes, I will. A tidbit would be, consider which of the orbitals are left. And I'm not telling you something that you don't already know, but consider which of the orbitals are left. Consider which of the holidays remain in the rest of the year. And that will be your guide.
All right. Angels and Christmas it is. Sounds good. I'll wait a couple months.
Very good.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy your rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of September. Joe, thanks again for joining us. And everyone else, remember Flag Day, Radish. Flag Day. You got to waste.
It's got to be Flag Day. Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, make sure to keep seeking the wonders in life, and we will catch you next time on Across the Realm.
Absolutely.